都是很简单的。blade， 其实这个 blade 和有一个单词非常容易混淆，那个单词是膀胱的意思。我暂停一下，给大家看看。对 ，blade 膀胱就这个，和这个 blade 是刀锋，很像，是不是？少个 D 少个 R 了，开始吧。这个浪费时间。调低一点。它是很简单的词，胶水是 blue， blade 刀锋。笑死。好，开始今天的节目。还是慢速啊。昨天晚上，这是昨天的一些话语啊。
I met the inspector coming from the kitchen. Do you mind coming into the study with me, Doctor? Inspector Davis unlocked the hall door and locked it again behind him. We don't want anyone to hear us. What's all this about blackmail? Is it Parker's imagination, or is there something in it? If Parker heard anything about blackmail, he must have been listening outside this door, I replied. That's very likely. I didn't like his manner, and when I questioned him again, he told me some story of blackmail. I told him the events of the evening. Most extraordinary story, Davis said when I had finished. And you say you couldn't see that letter on the study table when you found Ackroyd? Well, it gives us a motive for the murder. Do you think that Parker himself might be the man we're after? It looks likely, but keep it quiet until...
Parker 是那个管家是吧？叫什么？那个管家这是人物太多了，所以说这会。
We've got all the evidence. He crossed over to Ackroyd's body in the armchair. The weapon ought to give us a clue. He pulled the dagger out carefully from Ackroyd and put it in an empty flower vase on the mantelpiece. Quite a work of art. It was indeed a beautiful object. A narrow blade and a beautifully decorated handle. Take a look at the handle.
这个词 decorate 是一种修饰装饰的意思 ，handle 就是握把，结束这个握把可能被进行了雕刻过或总共 fingerprints 之外。
Fingerprints? I want to see if Mr. Raymond can tell us anything about this dagger.
Mr. Raymond 应该是那个警察吧？应该写出来。A major, that's Jones, that's Raymond 是什么 ？Mr. Raymond 是谁啊？好，继续找吧。写过了。好，就是那个男管家啊。好，继续。
Went back to the billiard room where the inspector held up the dagger still in the vase. "Have you ever seen this before, Mr. Raymond?" "Why, that's the Tunisian dagger. It was given to Mr. Ackroyd by Major Blunt." "Where—"
哎，他说出来这是谁的 dagger， 谁的短笛 Tuesday， 而且是经过这个市长给的，啊，有意思了。啊，每次都会这种，这是会计，好多会计现在是相冲的，又重新出现一个人物，并且和 Major Blunt。It was given to Major by where was this kept？ 一直放在哪里保管呢？
Where was this kept? "In the silver table in the drawing room." "What?" I exclaimed. "When I arrived last night, I heard the lid of the table being shut." I explained in detail. "Was the dagger there when you were looking at the table?" the inspector asked. "I don't remember noticing it." "We'd better ask the housekeeper," remarked the inspector. A few minutes later, Miss Russell entered the room. "Oh, yes, the silver table was open," she said, when the inspector had put his question. "I shut the lid as I passed." "Can you tell me if this dagger was in its place then?" "I can't say," she replied. "Thank you," said the inspector. Miss Russell left the room. "Let me see," said the inspector. "This silver table is in front of one of the French windows, and the windows were open. Well, somebody could get that dagger any time he liked. I'll be coming back in the morning with the Chief Constable, Colonel Melrose. Until then, I'll keep the key of that door. I want the Chief Constable to see—"
Chief Constable， 金是主席，警察的头，警长，
everything exactly as it is. When I got back, Caroline extracted the whole history of the evening from me, though I said nothing of the blackmail. "The police suspect Parker," I said. "Parker?" said my sister. "That inspector must be a complete fool. Parker, indeed." With these mysterious words, we went up to bed. The following morning, Flora Ackroyd came to our house. "Dr. Shepherd, I want you to come to the Larches with me."
又去这个地方 ，The Larch Society， 这放在一块去。
"To see that funny little man?" exclaimed Caroline.
刚刚是那个什么 Soy Boss 吗？
"Yes, he is Hercule Poirot, the famous private detective."
他是这个什么 Poirot 又出现一个人，他是著名的死亡侦探。又出现了一个人啊，是这个吧？
Uncle promised not to tell anyone because Monsieur Poirot wanted to live quietly. "Flora," I said seriously, "I advise you not to involve this detective in the case." "I know why you say that," she cried. "You're afraid. But Ralph wouldn't murder anyone." "No, no," I exclaimed.
Ralph 出现了，就是他那个字 ，Ralph Ackroyd。 Ralph 拍台吗？
Never thought he could kill anyone. Then, why did you go to the Three Boars last night? After Uncle's body was found? How did you know about that? I heard from the servants that Ralph was staying there, so I went this morning. The people there told me that he went out at about 9 o'clock yesterday evening, and that later you came to see him and went up to his room to see if he was in. This morning, they discovered that his bed hadn't been slept in. Her eyes met mine. There must be a simple explanation. Well, he wasn't in his room when I got there, so I came home. But I know the police don't suspect Ralph. They do suspect him. A man from Cranchester arrived this morning, Inspector Raglan. He had been to the Three Boars before me. The barman told me all about the questions he asked. He must think Ralph did it. Oh, Dr. Shepherd, let us go at once to Monsieur Poirot. He will find out the truth. Monsieur le Docteur. Monsieur Poirot said, Mademoiselle. He bowed to Flora. I have heard of the tragedy which has occurred, and I offer all my sympathy. In what way can I serve you? Find the murderer, said Flora. I see, said the little man. But if I go into this, I will go through with it to the end. You may wish that you had left it to the police. I want the truth, said Flora, looking him straight in the eyes. Then I accept, said the little man quietly. Now, tell me all. Dr. Shepherd should tell you, said Flora. He knows more than I do. Poirot listened carefully. You went to this inn last night. Now, why was that? I chose my words carefully. I thought someone ought to inform the young man of his stepfather's death. Poirot nodded and suggested a visit to the local police. He thought it better for Flora to return home and for me to accompany him. Poirot.
You went to this inn this morning. I thought someone ought to inform. 一些人应该去 inform 通知提醒 the young man of his brother's death. 就是来告诉这个 Rafi 他父亲已死了。那有意思了，看着有点不像这个 Rafi 但到底是不是一代吧？Did Inspector Davis please talk about the black man? 好像持怀疑态度吧。其实他也没说，是不是？What we found on the hand of the dog. Foot, fingerprints, drawn. Whom did Mr. Flaw turn to for help? Miss Hart 是在这里。第一个错，第一个黑逼人他不相信。We don't want animal to hear us. 错了一遍，好吧。今天又出来几个角色，慢慢的这些人都被浮出水面了。好吧，结束这个14分钟。其实今天总的来说吧，引出了这个人还有这个他的这个，那就下面什么 ，Right， 引出这个4色侦探。然后其实 现在那个警察有点开始怀疑这个和那个管家了。然后呢，这个女的说不相信这个会杀他机会，所以说就这样。然后目前有的证据就是那个指纹的那个dagger，那把短臂，那把短臂被管家放在一个很好的地方，帽子里把它提出来。好，就这样，看看今天的简历。Ackroyd part。哦，这个就是那个。Ackroyd part is that？我应该回头去看看。I'll fight to the end， 到最后一刻我都会战争，我会抗战到最后一刻。You may wish what you had left to the palace， 你可能会希望你已经到他里的警察。You may wish that you had left to the palace， 但是其实是你没有给警察。这个新语句我刚才确实没读出来。封面看不了最后了。好，假设今天做了一点，几个有点大的意思，这一天应该回去再看一下，就这样吧。